Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bowlers Union podcast. Keith and I here as usual with an extra special guest, arguably the greatest overseas player that county cricket has ever seen. 2015 Wisden Cricketer of the Year, MVP, off-spin GOAT, Jeetan Patel. How you doing, Jeets?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for having me on, boys. It's a real pleasure to reconnect with you lads. Two greats of the Warwickshire County Cricket Club, but also still plying their trade, which is, something of legendary status, really, to still be going at it like you are.
Oh, well, mate, we're just trying to follow in your footsteps, aren't we? I've got another year or two yet before I get to that.
I was hanging on, mate. I needed the cash then. You don't need any more.
I don't know.
We're going to do 5 quick fire questions, Jeets. Just what you prefer, okay? Turn or bounce?
Turn.
Drift or dip?
Dip.
Short leg silly point or short leg?
Short leg.
Caught behind or stumped?
Stumps funnier.
White ball or red ball?
Red ball.
I think Wrighty's won this one. So we had a little attempt at guessing what you prefer, and I think I got 2 out of 5.
Oh,
I'm surprised by that.
What, the Barks doesn't know you at all, even though he's played years ago?
Well, no. Well, that too, but
actually, it was 3. But anyway, yeah. What did you get, Chris? Just out of curiosity.
I got the. To be fair, maybe I got it wrong. A few of the spinners we've had on have said they like bounce.
Yeah.
Are they being a bit too cute? Because actually,
no. I mean, it's still. I just think it's fun when it's spinning, isn't it? If it's bouncing, it's like, well, yeah, and what? Yeah. At least if it's spinning, like, yeah, there's a bit of fun to be had, and everyone starts to get involved. Whereas if you're at mid-off and you see the ball bounce, you're like, yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But if it's spinning, you're like, oh, hang on, now I don't have to bowl for 30 overs. This could be great.
Yeah, that's true. If I'm at backward point and you're ragging it, I'm like, this is top time.
So, just quickly, I just wanted to start this off by saying, Jeets, me and Wrighty so far, and we're not going to really get that many more, but career total of wickets is around, I think, about 1,400 between the two of us in all comps. Maybe 1,400. You've amassed on your own 1,550. That's remarkable, mate. To do that and celebrate the way you can do takes a lot of effort, I think.
Well, I mean, I played. Remember, you forget that I played for a period of time. I played 12 months a year, so I was playing back in New Zealand as well. So I had a lot more opportunities more games to take wickets. So, I mean, it's not like both of you both play white ball again still, and T20 on top of that as well. Like, I played those 3 formats throughout my whole career. And then, mate, just get lucky, don't you?
I mean,
you've been very humble.
I wanted to put this in early. Obviously, there was a certain time you got a wicket, and I'm wondering how many more times out of those 1,550 wickets you celebrated by flipping the bird and playing the guitar.
It keeps coming up. Ollie Hannon Dolby keeps reminding me of those sort of terrible behaviours that I displayed. But I like the Yorkshire flipping the bird. Well, they deserved it. And then Colin Munro, well, obviously we didn't quite get see eye to eye either. So it was sort of, yeah, it works both ways. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I'm pretty embarrassed now looking back at that sort of behaviour, thinking, how can you behave like that? It's not cool.
You know what, though? It's passion, isn't it? It's all in the heat at the moment. It's all good fun. Like, you don't take
exactly.
It away, you do.
Oh, mate, it just doesn't affect me now. But people still laugh at me now, and it's actually quite funny with these boys, like being in the change room with them, because then they bring it up, and it's just story time, really. So memories, isn't it? That's what we play. We play for memories. So
100% right. Actually, before we came on, you might be responsible for one of the funniest on-field things I've ever seen, and I wonder if you can remember it. It was at Grace Road. in 2018, and I think it involved you and Haney, and it was like a shying at the stumps affair, where I think you maybe did you throw? I think he threw the ball at the stumps, and there was no one backing up off your bowling or something, and you had to go and fetch it or something like that, and then you went to throw it in, and obviously you were berating him, and then you threw it over Ambi's head, and it went to the other side of Grace Road, and he had to hook it in. It was like went for like 8 or something. Do you remember that?
I do remember something like that. I reckon, again, I was so angry, I probably would have forgotten how it all played out. But I used to get so peeved off, didn't I? Like, just chill out, man. Just a game of cricket. I mean, and like it's funny because everyone else could see that, whereas when I was in the moment, I couldn't see. I just saw red mist. But I loved it. Like, I think part of the time when I look back, I think that sort of helped take a lot of wickets or be involved in a lot of games because it's not like I can bump anyone or hit someone with a beamer. It'll just disappear out of the park. So like, if that was the only way, and I couldn't bat, so might as well have some fun with the ball.
I mean, you had how many hundreds did you have? You had a few, didn't you?
Two. Yeah.
Two more than Chris.
Well, I mean, I don't want to bring it up, and I'm glad you did, but
devastated. I tell you what,
they can't bowl leg stump half volleys all day, though, can they, Wrighty?
You know what? Honestly, Jeets, I don't know how much county cricket you're watching. I am a different player now with the bat.
Well, I have watched some, and it's not. I'm not going to lie. I don't always just scroll through your shots.
You're missing out.
Like I've got other things to do during the day as well than watch you bat, but I will look out for it now.
Well, my best might have gone now, but there's a few years, the last few years, I'm opening up the offside. Talking about your batting, obviously, I used to bat below you. So I think it would be like you'd be 9, I'd be 10, and we'd have like Rankin or someone or 11. And it was amazing batting behind you because obviously you were like a fireworks highlights package. It was amazing to me. It was amazing, but then as soon as they put a third man in, that's when I knew I had to put the gloves and helmet on.
What's the point? Like, this should be illegal.
They cottoned on to you sort of giving yourself room in the cut.
Yeah, I mean, I know people do scouting and analysis, but why are you doing analysis on a number 9? Like, that's stupid.
Because you're dangerous, mate.
As soon as they put a short leg in, it was like, right, okay, I'm going to get hit here, so have the stumps, mate.
I don't know if we talked about it. I do remember you played a series against South Africa, I think, and we had to watch you face Morkel and Stain.
Oh.
And I remember all the Warwickshire boys feeling for you a bit because they were both bowling rapid and just peppering you. And it was like, oh no, don't do this to our overseas.
Stain, so at the other end in one of the games, Stain had said to James Franklin, who walked past as he was going back to his mate, he's like, tell him to stand still, otherwise I'm going to kill him. So at the end of the over, I'm obviously shaking at the thought of being hit anyway, or I'd just rather get out. So I walked down the middle and he said, look, I've just spoken to Stain. I was like, oh yeah, what did he have to say? He said, stand still, otherwise he's going to kill you. I was like, awesome. Can you just try and hit every ball for 6 now? Because that'd be real handy if you just got out and then I didn't have to face another ball.
That's
mate. Oh no, I was terrible. But it was funny. Funny hindsight, no? Like
good story. That's a pretty cool story to say that you can, say that Stains cross.
That I can. Well, you saying that I can own up to it, or?
Oh, no, I think it's a good story to just relate. He's I don't know. I wouldn't say the GOAT, but like he's renowned as being just fearsome. We had him on the podcast.
Yeah, well, he's up there. He's actually a really nice guy, but he was. I don't know what he's like anymore. But yeah, he's just African, and they see mist, and that's it.
Going back to your bowling, and when you get passionate, and you were kind of fiery. Do you think you need that as a spinner?
I felt like I needed it. Yeah, I felt like when I crossed the rope, like I just needed that little bit. And it's not like you get the new balls when you're a spinner. And so most games you have to wait your turn or wait for the conditions to change to be in your favour. well, not be in your favour, but to have a bigger contribution. And then, like, a lot of the time, I was tired because I'd had a few too many beers the night before. But it was just, like I did feel like I needed it. I don't feel like everyone needs it. Like, some people need to be calm and collected, and that just got me up, and it meant that I spun the ball better, and I was just got in stronger positions in my action. I could tell when I wasn't in that space that this is just fighting out of my hand, like that. But again, everyone's different, aren't they? So to push a button would probably get me in line, or get me over the line, than just let me be.
Yeah, you're the only spinner I've ever known, Jeets, that, and it really did work in your favour. It used to kind of get me more switched on as we're in the game here. The more angry you got, the more you honed in. I mean, for those who are listening, like, stood at mid-off, the worst part for standing mid-off with Jeets, especially when he was annoyed if we hadn't started well, was just normally like spinners will, I'll just have a loose them in the air, float it over to you. Jeets would fizz this ball so hard. The reds, you could hear the red, and the slap you would feel in your hand. I'd almost try and take as long as I could to give it you back so you couldn't go back to me. But it really engaged you. Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, the worst. Like, you'd have mid on, mid off, and be almost on the fence, trying not to let you warm up.
I mean, I was waiting for that story to come up, to be honest with you, but it was more the fact that you guys would both turn your back and look the other way, and I'd be like, well, now, I mean, these guys aren't even interested. Like, I mean, and then I just bowl at Haney because he was an easy target, wasn't he? Probably still is, to be fair.
Oh dear, amazing.
Do you know what? Speaking of Haney, just quickly, do you remember Sussex?
Horsham. I'll never forget that, boss. Never forget that.
For those who weren't there, quite a tough game, playing on a small club ground at Horsham. Jeets is bowling. It's quite a sunny day. Jeets gets one to turn. I forgot who the batter was, but it's like kind of bat pad gone up in the air. Sam Hain underneath it, short leg, looks up, sun's in his eyes. He puts his hands up, can't see it, ducks out of the way, drops it. Doesn't even drop it, just leaves it. So like that was a crucial time in the game. We're pissed off, we're fuming, like inexperienced kids, not got his sunnies outside, not brought his sunnies out with him. End of that over, Sam Hain pulls out of his pocket his sunglasses, whacks them on.
That's
safe
amazing.
to say the whole team was fuming.
Oh, remember we were getting heckled by the crowd, weren't we?
Yeah.
At Horsham. Ben Brown got 100. It was Ben Brown. He got 100 in that game. But there was actually quite a few good memories in that, because Dougie had a crack at the members. That was brilliant when we were sat in the marquee. It was so funny. We had what did we have? Appraisals, didn't we? Down the bottom of the garden in the hotel. That was brilliant. Like, it was like we're all sat there having a beer or dinner at the end of the garden in the restaurant. One by one, we had to walk down this garden path down to have our appraisal and walk all the way back. Either like head in hands or like we're going again here. What a trip that was. I mean, I know we got beat, but
we got beat, and that's where the last wicket I'm batting with Boyd. Boyd just hit the ball and ran. And ran.
That's it. See, it's so funny. Like, I mean, even when you lose, there's some good moments in it, isn't it? Like, cricket, so
Speaking
good.
of Somerset, do you remember the dangerous pitch? I remember you facing Chris Jordan, and it was back in the
Sussex.
Yeah, it was back in the day when you could look at like playing misses, and you must have notched up a record amount of playing misses.
Yeah, I think I'd faced 70 balls. Yeah, had 37 playing misses or something like that. But again, remember we were going on the coach down there, and we were like, oh, Dougie had said, oh, lads, the wicket's going to be pretty hard work. Like, it's cracked and hard, but it's grass and green. Everyone was like, Dougie, shut up. How can it be green and grassy and cracked and hard? It's not possible. We get there, lo and behold, cracked and hard. Westy gets hit. And then he comes back out to bat.
Oh.
And I was at the other end. I was like, Westy, please just go back inside here. You're going to break something else. Then he got whacked in the ribs and broken a rib as well. That was crazy.
I remember was it Matt It was Matt Hobden, bless him, who bowled. Andy was literally in the position to cut. Hit back off a crack and just hit him in his badge. It was the worst pitch ever, and they didn't even get a point docked because the match ref was Tony Pygott, who basically is Sussex legend, I think, isn't he? I think.
But remember on day 4, Ben Brown got another 100 against us, and they batted the day and beat us. Like the sun came out.
That was Clark's
It was
fault.
ridiculous.
I blame Ricky Clark for that one because he got at Ben Brown. That I still talk. Me and Ben Brown have spoken about it. He said that just got him going. Like he just like, right, I'm just going to try and slog everything, and he did.
Yeah, that was bleak.
Ricky Clark, eh?
Bleak. I do remember that game. Batting for some reason. Trotty was like, well, not for some reason. Trotty was like, I'll go in 4 or 5, and I remember I ended up batting 3 or something. And obviously, when you come out to bat and you're like, this is awkward. They were like staring at me, and then they just started abusing Trotty to me. And I'm like, well, it's not me. And then obviously, I don't know if I got out or someone got out. Trotty went in and just must have got the most just dog's abuse, basically.
But he used to love that, though. Trotty used to love a little bit of abuse. It got him going.
Yeah.
It got him going. Oh, he was funny. He still is funny, actually, Trotty.
Yeah, he is. He's a beaut. Absolutely love chatting to him.
I love watching him on TV. Like when he's working with Afghanistan, he's just sitting there in the stand, like. This is exactly how Trotty was in the changing room. Like you guys, the whole world sees it now.
There was one recently that's on social media, I think, of him just sitting there looking thoroughly pissed off with someone. I can't remember who it is. I think it might be a young lad that's got out in a way that Trotty doesn't enjoy. And Trotty's just like, yeah, you can tell it's going to get off. He was good fun on here, wasn't he? When we were grilling him about the whole, when it rained and he was telling everyone to slow down, and one of the Afghan players held a hammy or something.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, he is genius.
He's probably try and get into it a bit more now about your career as a spin bowler. So I first came across you, obviously, I think you were here, Warwickshire 2010 to start. Was it 9 or 10?
9.
You came for a brief period, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then you came back a year or two later. I remember there was you had a chat with someone, and I overheard you saying about how you went and caught with your old spin bowling coach. And he kind of said to you after a few years, like, what the heck is this? You had to go back to doing the basics. Can you talk us through what it was that happened when he last seen you to when he then saw you again? What had shifted? What had gone on?
Yeah. I mean, so I met Ashley Mallett, who, bless him, is not with us anymore, but I met him when I was 19 at the Cricket Academy in New Zealand, and it's like a living academy there for 6 months, and Ashley Mallett come over to do some work with the finger spinners in the group. I think there were like 4 or 5 of us, and he was really complimentary. He's like, mate, you've got a really simple action. It looks lovely. You're over the top, and you get great shape. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I just bowl. And then it flew on, and over time, he just kept in contact. But he actually wrote me a few letters. Like, it was so old school. It was like 98. Well, yeah, it was 98. But then got onto emails. He's a bit old school himself. He was a lovely bowler back in the day. And anyway, I started playing for New Zealand and white ball cricket when I first debuted for New Zealand. And I think I sort of made the back of that, like, playing good white ball cricket, getting a little bit long action, bloody blah, and sort of made the New Zealand team, and then that flew on to a little bit of Test cricket. That came on the wayside, and basically my action had sort of taken a U-turn and gone for the southwest. The south quickly. And it was just purely because of white ball cricket. And it was my own fault. Like, I never paid attention to the core skill I grew up doing, like as a kid, doing what I love doing, which is like spinning it over the top and, through the gate and all that stuff. I'd lost all that to the point where I couldn't get anyone out bat pad anymore through the gate. I was doing, or right-handers anyway. I was doing them on the outside, like nicking him to slip and second slip. Anyway, he emailed at me out of the blue. He's like, "Mate, I've just watched you bowl. What is that?" I was like, I put you in I've got high regard for you here, and you tell me that I'm bowling a whole lot of junk." He's like, "It's terrible, mate, but it's not who you are. It's not who you were." I was like, "Okay, well, what do you suggest?" And anyway, he ran me through some things, and then we spoke on the phone, and I took a year out in 10. I didn't take a year out. I basically was going to get dropped out of the Wellington team. I'd just been on tour with New Zealand. I was going to get dropped out of the Wellington team. Like, I was a bit in the bush. And then I went over to Brisbane, saw him. I flew over and saw him, and we had a good couple of weeks, like one-on-one there. And then he flew out to New Zealand, and we basically rebuilt my action so that I could do the things I used to do as a kid. Like, it's sort of almost a checkpoint reminder of where I was when I was a kid and what I got to and where I need to get back to. And it became fun again. But it was, a good hard graft, like 18 months of proper graft to get back to where I was, because bad habits got involved. I got lazy. I was having success in white ball cricket, but you sort of need sort of different skills. Like, the game's moved again where you don't, but at that point you did. T20 was starting internationally, so having to be quicker through the air, like all those small things that then affect your action, took over, and I had to go back to it all and start it all. And then, fortunately enough, like, I was still young enough and to for it to stick. But it also meant I understood. They say spinners mature later. I think they just understand what they're doing. They finally work out, okay, if I do this, then this is what happens to the ball. If I want the ball to do this, then I need to do that. A lot of kids just get told you need to do X, Y, Z because you'll get more spin on it. But no kid's ever going to say why. Why do I need to do it? And I think I may have touched on, for me anyway, what the why was. And yeah, it just.
What are some of those specific things that you worked on with him then, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so I mean, I obviously my delivery stride when I was younger was very short, which meant that instead of like my body being, so my body could tip quicker at the crease. So I was in this position when I was letting the ball go. So therefore, I was letting the ball go in front of myself, which meant I could put more topspin on the ball. But what it got to is I was almost here because my delivery stride was so long. So then I'm almost bowling the ball from behind myself. So I'm losing, if I was doing it side on, I'm almost losing that much spin on the ball.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
letting the ball go here rather than I should be letting it go here. And scientifically, if you think about it, the more friction you have with something, the more time you spend with something, the more friction there is on it. So it meant that I get my hand and my wrist in a better position rather than spinning the ball like that. So I could actually spend more time with it and would start to come out like that. So start to get over the ball, and then your legs start to work differently, and where you are on the crease, and then you've got more tools to work with. And I think that's when I realized, like, wow, I had all this as a kid, but I didn't know I had it. I just had it. No one was ever going to say. I think no one ever said, "Hey, mate, you're bowling really well. You're a nice looking bowler because you do X, Y, Z. You're just a nice spin bowler." Um, Yeah, and then I had things to work on that I knew that if I did right, like short my delivery stride, make sure I deliver a ball late. Can I start to bowl more of a top spinner in practice so that in a game time I know when the pressure's on I can go back to my 45 spin quite easily and I don't have to go chasing it. What does overspin provide you? What does side spin provide you? What does underspin provide you? Like, then be able to use all those tools to play a game and set a batter up or take wickets or assess the conditions really quickly and go, right, this is what I need today, or I need more of this today, so I will use that skill more. But again, I mean, you're a kid. Like, there's kids out there, not meant to know that. They're just having fun, right? So it's one of them. It's like catch-22. When do they learn it? The earlier they do, the more fun they'll have, but you don't want them to discount exploring and making mistakes either. So I'm glad I had made the change because it's probably led me to the position I'm in now where I can start to help other guys do it as well because the mistakes I've made.
Yeah. Keith, we can't actually hear you right now, Keith. I don't think. What, Jeets, in terms of the white ball, is there any specific deliveries in those formats that lead to you losing that technique?
Yeah, because like if you want to be quicker, if you want to bowl the ball quicker, you have to get longer and lower, right? Theoretically, otherwise, until you've got enough strength in your action to be able to bowl as quick as you want to bowl. So you get lower and longer, and therefore you have to let the ball go at some point in your action, right? And your body tells you, well, your mind tells you, you've got to let it go. So you start to let it go behind you, and then you start to bowl flatter, less overspin on the ball, which what I will say, and I'm a big fan of now, is I don't think anyone bowls a bad ball necessarily. It's just when they choose to bowl it. So short and wide is actually a good ball if you want to get a guy off strike.
Yep.
You know, like there's times to use certain deliveries. There's times to bowl underspin or undercutting deliveries. There's time to go overspin where you know the guy's going to try and slog you. So how do you miss the middle of the bat while you change the type of bounce you want? I think white ball cricket's. I think 50 over cricket's a really good game. Like I love 50 over cricket as much as I love Test cricket. Well, I love Test cricket more, but I think 50 over is great because there's that hold. You've got 60 balls to defend and attack. There's points in the over. You might defend that over or defend against a certain batter, but then there's also times you're all right. For these next two balls, I'm going to really try and get them out. So you set a field and you bowl a ball accordingly to that, or you bluff guys. It's T20, like you're basically just trying to miss the middle of the bat the whole time. You got 24 balls to miss the middle of the bat, and hopefully they hit one up or they hit one down, or they nick it or they inside nick it or whatever. But they're so good now at striking the ball. Yeah, it's just trying to make those small things really.
Absolutely. I'm hoping we've got Keith with some volume.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I have, Keith.
There we go. Lovely. I wanted to ask you actually, just from what you were saying earlier about assessing conditions and bowl a certain way. There's not many spinners I've seen in the first class county system that have been able to come on first, second change in green conditions and go basically bowl with the figures of like a seamer on a green top, where you've been able to hold an end but still provide wickets as and when needed. Is that just something you learned from figuring out these conditions? This is what I'm going to do and going with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to go through that. Not go through that phase of rebuild your action like I did, but go through that phase of okay, what skills have I got and how do I use them in certain conditions, or what's going to be best on this sort of wicket. We were very lucky when we played at Warwickshire. We had Tim Ambrose, quite possibly the best keeper going round at that time, who stood behind the stumps, and he's I'll bowl two balls and I'd stop and we'd go and chat. And I think that stuff's really important about because you can let the ball go from your end, but you don't see how it reacts exactly at the other end. Whereas a keeper who's standing up, it's like, oh, there's actually quite a bit of bounce here, or it's quite quick out of the wicket, or it's quite slow. So he would then turn around and say, actually, slow it up today. No need to be so quick. It's actually, there's enough pace in the wicket anyway. Not going to be much spin today, boss. So how are we going to use the outside edge?
Yeah,
and you start to form a partnership, and then you can set fields that are according to that. But you also bowl to something. You've got a plan to bowl to. If you don't have that and you're just bowling, then batters change very quickly, and they can hit 360, right? So, and I think the game's changed again as well. They're a lot more aggressive now, especially at county level against spin, because the ball does all sorts. Most of the time anyway, with the seamers, it does all sorts. It can do anyway. So what you got to take the option as soon as the spinner comes on. You've either got to keep him on by leading them on, by sort of taking him before and over, or you whack him out of the attack and you bring the seamers back. So if you think of it like that, you're almost that counterintelligence of, okay, so do I bowl dots to stay on, or do I just try and take two for? And then at least from a bowling point of view, the game's still progressing, if you know what I mean. Yeah, it's 2 for 60 off 10 overs. Well, it's still 2 for, unless you're off the park. You've only got 8 to get then.
I used to love Jeets. I'm right. I'm sure you remember. Back me up on remembering this. Any time Jeets would then come into bat against any spinner, it was going for 6 every ball.
I remember him and Andrew Salter. I remember you getting Salter out, caught mid wicket actually, and he just an outrageous shot from him timing. You know, when you're like, will you guys put the spin egos aside?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, great fun. So going back to what you just said, what is your starting point then? You turn up at a pitch, you don't know what's going on. It's the first innings. Where are you at in your head in terms of getting into the game?
So obviously we all look at the wicket, right? I mean, we don't even know what's going on really. Half of us can't read a wicket to save our lives. But
blagging it. Everyone is blagging that.
Yeah, mate, it looks a belter.
This is going to start
Well,
turning.
That's what I saw.
Like, is it? Like,
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, shall we bet then? I know what bowl. So it's not a belter, is it? No. So I don't know. Like the beauty of playing in the 2 parts of the world. You know, playing in New Zealand during the home summer, and then, well, what is now my away summer, and then coming back to England, you got to see a lot of different wickets. You could tell which one was hard, which one's going to bounce a bit more. Your spikes going in. A Duke's ball is actually quite a really nice ball to bowl spin with because it sits on its axis, so you can manipulate almost what sort of spin you want out of it. But then if it's grassy and wet or damp, you know you're still going to get sharp spin because of how damp it is or moist on top. So you start to formulate a plan, and actually how the seamers go about it. Like if it's nibbling, then it suggests there's a little bit of moisture in the ball sitting in the wicket. So I think from a spinner's point of view, you come on, there is a chance to get some sharp spin out of the wicket. As that then dries and gets harder and drier, then it will stop and then it will spin again. Wind condition, because that affects drift, dip, and actually game position. Like, you know, if you're coming on then none for, you're thinking, right, okay, I'm going to have more guys out because I'm under. They're going to use me. They're going to try and take me down as well. So you might have catches out at cow long on. You know, you might have deep square as your catcher because you want to do them sweeping. Whereas a misconception, especially around red ball cricket, is that no, you need a short leg, a silly point, a leg slip, and a slip because they're your catches. Well, no, what about catching a wicket or you're getting a guy caught at cow is just as fine as getting him nicked off. Like, how do you use the 11 fielders as your catchers rather than just guys who defend the game?
Love it.
And then you've got other support with everyone around you, right? Like, you know, you've got guys who have played county cricket for 10, 15 years who could quickly surmise a might need to see a few balls bowled on it first.
Yeah.
And you use all that information, you just sort of start to formulate your own plan.
Yeah. Like it, because I'm just trying to think in terms of, you know, like for a young lad, I don't know who might be listening to this. Let's say it's a young off spinner who's playing kind of club cricket and maybe playing a bit of twos and is looking to, you know, so maybe it's their first experience of those 2 innings games. That first innings typically is often going to be perceived as the challenging one, isn't it? When things aren't so helpful for them, stuff like that.
Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah, and then you're using your fielders, aren't you? I think that's the biggest point. Is we forget that we've got, you know, 10 other guys out there to help take wickets, and that's in terms of their fielding prowess. So using these guys in positions that you might put them in funny positions or different positions, but the whole purpose of them being there is to force a wicket some way or another.
That's why me and Wrighty were always 45 and deep backward point or whatever, just because we couldn't field.
I could field then. Thanks very much. Yeah, it is funny. It is funny. I'll tell you one thing I do remember that you said to me a long time ago. Christ, I'm blowing some smoke here, aren't I?
I know, you are, aren't you?
Yeah, is in white ball cricket, this is always know how, or always have an idea or a vision of how you're getting a pole, which I guess for a spinner is even more important because quite often in white ball cricket specifically, you are going to be utilising, well, I mean, everyone has boundary riders now, but it's very important that you know actually that deep mid wicket is there for the misplayed sweep that I'm going to earn through, whatever it might be.
100%. It might be that you're trying to set a guy up with slow balls, or you're going pace on, slow ball, and he gets through one early and it gets caught at deep mid wicket or deep backward, and you're like, well, yeah, there was a plan to that. Or you might drag a guy over the crease by bowling a little bit wider, setting an offside field, bowling a little bit wider. He starts to move over. And so this isn't white ball cricket. Then you go dead straight and hit him in front. Now, when it comes off, it's genius. But you've got something to work towards. Otherwise, it just becomes, we're not bowling machines where we just bowl the ball wherever the batter wants. Like, we've got the whole reason why we bowl is to bowl them out, right? So, thinking of it like that, rather than going, okay, I'm just going to get through my 4 overs here, 5 overs here, or 6 or 10 overs or whatever it is, and hopefully I only go for 30. Well, the way the guys score now, he's still got 40 overs to get 300, so it's not really affecting the game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Actually, you know what? I'm going to throw it out there. Sorry, Keith. I'll just quickly. This is it's when people don't put the fielders in the right place to suit their own style of bowling, which still happens at relatively high levels. Just makes you want to pull your hair out.
Frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah. You got to be honest with yourself.
Gee, going back onto Red Bull stuff, and this is, I think, Wrighty wanted to know this as well. And this is not me trying to say I made a difference, but it's more for what I've experienced with other spinners that I've played with. Is how did you find having rough there? Did you find that as something that you felt like you had to hit, or was it more of this is more of a distraction for the batsman? I'm just doing my thing. Or did you find there was pressure of needing to hit that? Because from what I've experienced with some young spinners I've played with, it seems as though there's a real pressure on them feeling that they have to hit the rough. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Oh, look, mate, it's a huge advantage, isn't it? If there's rough in the wicket, from a spin point of view, you don't know, as a batter, you don't know how the ball's going to react if it lands in it. What they call it, the pizza or whatever you want to call it. It was a huge advantage, and we were lucky with the attack that we had. Where we had you left armour, we had Wright who swings it at pace, and you got Boydie, for example, who just put the shits up anyone anyway. And then obviously Ricky Clark, who you and Clarkie could bat in the middle order, and you've got two genuine swing bowlers, a bounce bowler, a left arm bowler who swings it, and then a spinner who bowls it. So your attack becomes rounded. But I think definitely having that rough is obviously a huge assistance. But then using it against the batter is another way. And then, like you say, you've got two options. Either you're trying to hit it all the time, or you're hitting it all the time, or you make them feel the ball's going to hit it every time. So you've got the inside and outside edge. And you're not always in control. Like, I don't think anyone's that accurate every day when wind conditions are X and it's cold, it's hot, it's, like whatever the game situation is. I don't think anyone's ever going to be that accurate to hit the same spot every time. But the whole thought of maybe hitting it more often than not is just as threatening. But you've also got to think, you've got to bolt to left-handers as well when you're trying to spin it from the straight. So, like, it's trying to use all of those, all come around the wicket, even though there's footmarks out there. Like, are you coming around the wicket? So I would come round. There's times I come round to the right-hander, just to make sure, just to almost make them forget that the footmarks were there, and then come back and try and land one in the pizza, and it explodes, and they're like, oh my god, I forgot about that, or they've got a difference, or they've aligned differently, or whatever. But ultimately, I think if you're bringing the stumps into play, and whether that's spinning into the stumps or spinning from the stumps, more often than not, and I would say this to any young spinners, like you constantly bring the stumps into play, you're more often going to have success rather than missing. You don't always try and miss, but if you can get a guy thinking it's going to hit the stumps the whole time, then you bring in the outside edge. And it's no different to you guys as seamers, right? You're almost like using angles on the crease to make them feel like you're going to hit the stumps or off stump or top of off, that magic box. But that's how you bring in the outside edge as much as you do the inside edge, if you know what I
mean. You just saying that, coming round, there's so many times I saw you come round to a right-hander, and I'm thinking, what the fuck's he doing? I've created this massive fight. But then, next thing you know, nick off, caught Clarkie at first slip, just from them expecting it to rag like you have done from coming over the wicket. And then, like you said about left-handers, as one guy in particular, I remember you I think you apologised for the celebration. You got Trez out one of many times, and he shared every fucking.
Yeah, no, we still talk about it now. Actually, we were talking about it last night. Actually, it was quite funny. He hates it. Absolutely hates it.
Oh, dear me. Brilliant.
So you never
So
found
good.
any pressure off with the rough. You were in your zone doing what you do. That's there for assistance. If I hit it, I hit it. If not, I don't.
I think it's a game situation, Barks. Like, if it's day 4, the game's on the line, and you've got this pizza to work with, it's probably your job. Well, not your job, but partly your job. How much time's left in the game? There's pressure that builds in different ways. The guy on 100, is he in a big partnership, and is he playing really well? And you can put too much on that. You can start to chase it, and then you're not bowling the ball anyway. You're just putting it there, and even if it does land in the pizza, it just doesn't do anything. So you're still going to be bowling heavy balls into the rough. And Felix at Hampshire is working that out slowly, isn't he? Like it looks like he's slowly working out that actually I just bowl normally, but I bowl heavy balls into the stuff. Some will go and some won't, and he's had a lot of success. Well, a little bit of success so far, and he'll only grow from that. So it's quite fun to see, but there has to be congratulations pushed your way because you learnt how to make that footmark longer and convince the umpires that you can make it a little bit wider occasionally. But that makes the space really hard to defend as a batter or attack. And then it's if you bowl it too slow into that, then anyone's going to be able to hit it because they'll just run down before it bounces. But then getting the strength of action to bowl it quick enough into it, so when it does go, it goes rapid. And I think that's quite important. Is when it goes really quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry,
sorry,
go on, Keith.
sorry. One more question, Jeets, because obviously we played a lot of red ball together and white ball especially. Your pace for a spin bowler was up there, wasn't it? You were it was on the high end of. You're almost approaching my speeds, mate. I'm probably there now, but is that something you deliberately try to do? Because I know people were fearful of almost sweeping you because of how they almost didn't have the chance to get down to sweep you because of your pace.
I think, like I said, I think I'd bowled enough balls to have strength in my action. And I think that's the important part. Again, you go back to that scenario, you bowl too quick and you lose your action. You move too quickly in the crease and you use your action. You got too much momentum and, you do things you don't want to be doing. If you watch yourself back on footage, you'll be like, oh, that looks ugly. But I think there was enough strength in my action to be able to bowl at different paces and actually playing a lot of white ball cricket, but also realizing I'm here as a wicket taker and not a dot bowler in white ball cricket. I come on in white ball cricket to take wickets, so I've got to be able to access high pace, low pace, something in the middle. Sometimes it has to be high pace all the time. Sometimes it has to be slop. So you start to build enough muscle memory to be able to do it all. And again, it's 20 years of it, man. Like 20 years of professional stuff. So the back end, the last 3 or 5 years at least, you're running on what you've learned and what you've built up in terms of strength and conditioning in your own action, I suppose. But yeah, I think even I said go back to rebuilding my action, understanding how my body needs to move to get what I need the ball to do.
Yeah.
And then you just work on those things. Like all of a sudden the game becomes very simple.
Yeah.
You know what it's like. You go in pre-season, you've got cameras and guys recording you and telling you, you need to get in here and do it. Well, do I? Or is it just what you think I need to do? Like, it's once you can start questioning that or start asking why I need to do it, I think you go a long way to start to nailing your game and how you then can contribute back to the team. But it takes a brave person to ask why.
Yeah.
I can't see a 18-year-old kid going, well, why do I have to do that? Because it's seen as being derogatory. But the reality is maybe he's just inquisitive as to why I need to run in a straight line or run in an angle or be rhythmical or jump high. I don't know what it is. It's different for everyone, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're dead right. I just want to pick up on something you said there about the paces. And I'd love to know your opinion on how a spinner can counteract a really good sweeper. So obviously the game now is probably more and more competent sweepers, both reverse and conventional. And that I've seen spinners, not you, but you do see spinners really struggle when they come up against that. So what did you do when you come up across those sorts of players?
I mean, I got told this ages ago when I was like 20, like 22 or 23. I went to Sri Lanka as a net bowler with the New Zealand team. So me and another guy, we went in as sort of like work experience. We went to Sri Lanka on a test series, but we weren't part of the squad. We were just net bowlers, and we'd bowl all day. We'd bowl 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and we'd sit in the change room with the boys, and we bowl them at training, and then after training we'd go bowl on tennis courts and blah blah blah. But it was basically the whole purpose of the 3 weeks was to bowl in different conditions everywhere. So we'd bowl on tennis courts, we'd bowl it in the grass nets, we'd bowl on concrete, artificial wickets, all sorts. And it was more just trying to give us enough knowledge to work out, okay, if you ever came on these pitches, what would you be able to do? I think that's the same with sweeping. And we got told then by some old school boys, as soon as someone starts to sweep, it's harder to sweep the slower delivery than it is to sweep a quicker delivery because you can use your pace, unless it's full enough. So you, fortunately, can recall on that, and I think the way to combat guys that sweep very, very well, and they obviously get better and better because they go both ways, is how you're getting the ball to look the same but arrive differently. And that's just like a little bit of overspin, a little bit more side spin. Is it flatter? Is it more loopy? Is it quicker? But is it slower? But it feels the same pace out of the hand. Like there's so many small things with spin bowling that you can affect the ball. I mean, you look at Adil Rashid right now. Like he's bowling there down at 50 mile an hour because it looks the same pace in the air, but it just hangs and hangs and hangs, and all of a sudden it drops on the guy. Now, if you're sweeping and you're there too early, then it's either going to go under the bat or straight up, right? So
Yeah.
And then understanding that, look, at the end of the day, we're just trying to miss the middle of the bat. Like if you think of it like that, it takes away a lot of the bullshit around how you play the game. I think that's quite important as well. You try to simplify it a bit easier by saying, okay, my job is just to miss the middle of the bat. And if a guy's trying to sweep me, what I'm trying to do, I'm either trying to hit the top of the bat, the bottom of the bat, or miss it completely.
Yeah, love it. No, great answer. That should be quite valuable for anyone listening to that bit. Keith, do we want to talk a little bit about the transition into coaching?
Yeah, just
I don't want to go past bowling because I know that you had a couple as well. A couple of questions
before that. It's just because every spin is different, or every mindset's different. What type of mindset did you have? What type of bowler were you? What type of spinner?
I think when I first started, when I debuted in '99 for Wellington, I was quite defensive. I just bowled to stay on. But again, I played in a decent seam attack, so I'd sort of bowl between, if we're talking red ball, I'd bowl between 70 and 80, sort of wait for the new ball, and then it was almost ingrained into me, this is your job. You got 2 and over, bloody blah. So game circumstances, I think team circumstances, that was what was ingrained into me. But then as I said, I started to learn more about how I go about my job, and actually having a little bit of success. You think, hey, hang on here, I've actually got a cool job that I could do, and that's to come on and try and take a wicket. And then obviously once I started to believe in that a bit more, and again, you get lucky, and it does happen when you come on and you get a wicket in your first over, your third over, and you're like, actually, this is pretty good fun. You start to believe in it a bit more. I think I turned the corner, was right. I'm a part of a bowling attack that's here to take 20 wickets, and my job is to take some of them. Not all of them. If you get lucky and you get 20, brilliant. But to take as many as I can for the group, because then you get the whole group off the park.
Yeah. Love it.
And it's not just about your numbers then. And I think you can play the game better then. You're actually more involved.
Yeah.
You celebrate your mates' wickets, and then your mates celebrate your wickets rather than you celebrating your own, and it becomes quite a selfish little world. It means that you, as a team, you start to work towards something. And I think I got to that stage, I don't know, probably at 29, where and then I probably wanted it too much, and then realised actually I need to start again here, and worked it all out again, and it was good fun. But again, we had such a rounded attack where you felt like you could go out in the park and someone was going to do something, no matter who you threw the ball to. So you felt like you were a part of a 5-6 man attack that was going to bowl side out.
You know what? You're so spot on with that. It genuinely did feel like that, didn't it? And I think Pop did a good job in establishing that initially, didn't he? That kind of group ethos. But you've summed it up well there. Part of an attack to get 20 poles, and actually, it is great fun. I mean, it's more fun if you can, frankly. Do you know what I mean?
Well, of course it is. Yeah, of course it is, and you feel a real sense of achievement. But you sit in the change room after you have a couple of beers and cheers, Wrighty, well bowled. That's more. I feel like those moments when someone says, "Mate, that was a great spell." That's when you're like, "Yeah, actually, that was good fun."
No, dead right. Dead right.
Yeah.
So your transition into coaching. Obviously, we only know you as a teammate and a wonderful teammate. How have you found moving into the England environment? Because I'm right in thinking you've been in the ECB pathway since finishing, right? Since retirement.
Yeah. So I think it probably dawned on me a little bit about 17 when I was 2017 when I can tell I'm getting to the end of it all. I'm 37 and people were coming up to me and saying, "Oh mate, wouldn't mind a chat." And then someone might email say, "Look, would love for you to work with these guys, or do you have some time to do this?" It's like, maybe I've got something to offer here. And I actually quite enjoyed talking absolute shit with guys about spin bowling, because everyone's different, but ultimately there's some core principles that you don't need to have, but you probably want to understand. And I don't want anyone to really have to go through what I went through to get to where I got to in terms of understanding the art. If you can fast track that, brilliant. And then and then Gilo was in charge, so he was with us at Warwickshire, and he got the ECB role, and he said, "Look, do you fancy doing some work in New Zealand?" And I was like, "Well, I'm there anyway, yeah, why not?" And loved it, absolutely loved it. But also very, very lucky, Wrighty Barks. Like not many people get the right to play one day and then work with England the next day. That's absolutely kissed on it. Because you go straight to the top and you work. Genuinely, you work with the elites, and they know the art. You're just refining bits and pieces. You're not, you're not sitting here with a cone out there going, right, you've got to hit this 6 times by doing X, Y, Z. And I think you can lose a lot of, excitement for the game when you're still playing to have to go back to that. So I got really lucky to walk into an environment and working with Mo Ali, Adil Rashid, and you're bowling against the best batters in the world, and you're deciphering plans around how you're going to get these guys out. It's bloody great fun. And then it flowed on from there, mate. And then ended up getting a full-time job during COVID 2020, 21, and went into the pathway stuff, but it never really eventuated just because of the way COVID worked. And those 2 years were a bit messy, weren't they? Where couldn't really go to grounds, couldn't really get around guys without having to be spending 2 meters apart, blah, blah, blah. And then it all changed again when Brennan came in and he picked his coaching staff, and I was fortunate enough to stay with them. But our roles have moved, and I'm actually quite glad it has, because as much as I love bowling spin and talking shit about spin, like it's good crack, but I still love the game, the whole game. You start to talk about my roles change, where you're almost like an assistant now, where you're talking about guys batting and bowling and fielding, and it's hard to say. I mean, both of you have still got 30 years of cricket experience, right? Sure, it's different experiences from as you were a kid to where you are now, and even the life experiences that come with it. There's a lot to be offered that you forget about when you get in your lane and just stay in it. Like there's different aspects of the game that can help you. So it's been an awesome ride. Like I'm so lucky, absolutely. Like we are very lucky to be in the position we're in. But again, just like when you're playing, you'd never take for granted. And I think that's what drives us to get going forward, is how far can we take the teams we work with?
Brilliant, mate.
No, absolutely.
I always thought you were just gonna, drive around in your beige Volvo soccer mum car,
Mm,
and just play golf.
the gold brick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that too, Bucks, and it took a U-turn, didn't it? Life took a U-turn.
In terms of with your coach's hat on, right? What are you looking for in a young spinner? Whether it's whether it's a young kid who's just fresh, and what qualities do you think they should have, and then perhaps on the county circuit, what qualities would you like to see in a spinner on the circuit who's looking to push for international honours?
Yeah, with that, actually, I was going to say, are you just because of how? So I've kind of butted in with Wrighty's question, but I want to add to it is with Seam, it's not. It seems like obviously internationally wise now, England selecting lads who are out and out pace, and it's not more about how good your craft is at a county level, but if you've got that express pace, you're going to be more selectable. With spin, are you guys looking at different things for international level than what you may be seeing at county level? With that question within Wrighty's question as well. Sorry.
Yeah. Like so if I was talking, we'll start with Wrighty's part first. If I was talking to a young kid, like genuine excitement, right? You just want to see a kid with genuine excitement with what he does. I think when you see that, you automatically know there's going to be gratification for anything that he gets out of the game. If he bowls a maiden, he's going to be super excited. She, sorry. If they were to get 3 poles, it's like, I can't wait to come back tomorrow. And I think you need to have that instilled in you with cricket, especially because there's a lot of tough days in the game. If you can learn that early about that excitement about going to work or going to play cricket, and it's sort of your makeup, no matter how well you go, I think you're a long way there to winning the game. And then when it comes to this bowling part, like a little bit of like spin at least, or something in the fingers or the wrist that you think, actually, this could be good fun to work with and grow. And then when you get the county game, I just think there's just a touch on the negative side, if I'm being honest, right here. And like, I think a lot of guys will take that to heart. But I mean, I know everyone goes out there to try and take heaps of wickets, but I feel a lot of them are also just a little bit coy around wanting to be a bit more out there with it. And I say that with, it's okay. We're all going to get hit for boundaries, 4s and 6s. But are you giving yourself a chance to take wickets, or is it easy just to defend the game and bowl 2 straight or 2 wide, and you're almost like, I don't know, it's a bit boring for me. But I'd love to see spinners who are quite attacking, quite aggressive with how they want to go about it. The spin they put on the ball, are they asking? Especially at county level, are they trying to nick guys off? Are they really trying to bat pad them? Are they trying to bowl them through the gate? Are they trying to bowl magic balls more often than not? It doesn't always work for you, but they're probably the things that I'm looking for. Well, not when I say looking for, I get excited about.
Right.
And then with the England stuff, when you look into the spinners that we pick, obviously Bash has come from nowhere. Well, Instagram, which is quite random in itself, but he has got so many attributes that's like a lot of spinners do not have, and that's worldwide. It's got really long fingers. He's tall. He gets over his action really well. He can bowl overspin and side spin, and he's 20. So you think the upside of where he could take his game and what he could give England over 15, 20 years. Like there's a lot of upside in that, and he's already got the attributes that half the cricketing fraternity would want.
Sure.
That he's as tall as Ashwin, and his long fingers like Ashwin, but more of a traditional action like Lyon. So, and I'm not saying that he's a mix of both yet, but I certainly say that he's got the attributes that could get him there. And then I think their X factors, a bit like the pace thing, Bucks, is the X factors that get you over the line. At Test cricket, like to be honest, the pitches they play on are flat.
Yeah.
Well, I say flat. Obviously, this side still get bowled out, but they're bloody good wickets. So you need to bring something that's a little bit different, or ask just that little bit different question. And then you've got your Jack Leaches who are fantastic in their own right, and they bring something different in terms of X factor, in terms of how they bowl. When you got Rayan Ahmed, Adil Rashid, like these guys, there's so many guys out there on the circuit that I think could go on. Farhan Ahmed at 6'17", like I mean, he's a jet, an absolute jet. But he's 17. he's got a lot of learning to do within himself. He's still got to finish school, and those life experiences are so important in the game, and especially when it comes to test level, because you are tested in a lot of different ways, not just on the park. But yeah, those are things I'd be looking for. It's just that little bit of aggression and a little bit of excitement about the game. They sound so simple, but without them, it's not much fun.
Passion, passion, heart.
Yeah,
like, that's it.
But like Warnie back in the day had loads of skill, ragged it, but you could tell that he loved being on the cricket pitch and playing cricket for Australia. And he's one of the greats. And bless him, he's not there, but he's one of the greats. But he had that buzz about him. Murali, Swanee, Monty back in his day, or Panesar, sorry, back in his day. Like, there's a little bit of X factor about them in terms of how they want to play the game. They're not boring, dour people. And I think if we can get a few of those guys coming through, we'll have a bigger stock again.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting. To be fair, that's a pretty good answer to those questions. Like, if anyone's
long-winded.
No. That's exactly what we want. Before we wrap it up, because we've kept you for an hour already, plus a bit of banter before we started recording. Are England's spin stocks healthy? When you go all the way back down the pathway.
Yeah, I think we're sitting okay at the moment, Wrighty. Obviously, there's going to be new guys that keep coming in year in, year out, and some that not so much fall off, but have a year that doesn't quite work for them. But I think, in the 19 system right now, you've got Farhan, you've got Taz Ali, Leggy, there are Wileys, who could be quite a good white ball bowler. I'm not going to name everyone because someone will call me out and say they didn't name me, but I think you've got that whole 18 county system, 18 team system, plus then the 100 that brings in a lot more energy in terms of overseas players, and there's a lot more learning in there. I think there's a lot of guys that are available for selection, and you think there's something there. How we would use them is different to how other teams would use them. That's part of our selection, is we will look at guys and go, right, okay, well, how would we use that person, or does he have the attributes we want to take this team forward? And then that's part of the question. Why we all constantly, as you know, get questioned about selection all the time.
Yeah,
a little bit left field, a little bit. Well, he hasn't got a 100, he hasn't got a 50. Well, that's not the point. We see a talent or a skill, and we think it can survive at test level, and if not, succeed at test level. But that's on us as coaches to get him that far. You bring us the raw skill, and we'll try and take as far as we can.
I think that's one thing. Obviously, you're at the absolute sharp end, and people may disagree with some of the stuff they see, but it is important to keep in mind that Test cricket is a different game to county cricket. County cricket is different to club cricket, and the skills, they aren't necessarily the same, are they? It's
completely different, mate. It's run differently. It's thought of differently. It's there's a different aura around international cricket to county cricket. It's just completely different game. So you need to pick guys who have got that little bit of X factor. And like Bethel, for example, he wasn't out there picked for Test cricket, but he's a rock star cricketer. He needs to be playing at the highest level, because that's where he shows off his skill, I think, and he's more capable of doing it.
Can I just say with that, like you say, probably a little bit out there. Earlier that year, I had a friend of mine, which you, Jeets, do know, but he was kind of, how's Bethel still playing? He's not scored any runs. And I was like, he's a good player. But he's averaging this and blah, blah, blah. Then he gets picked for England, scoring a few 50s. And my mate was like, he's all right, isn't he? You help me out, mate.
Yeah, it's hard. I get it where people come from. That they see stats, they see day in, day out. But, we're trying to look for raw skill and actually how they are off the park as well, because it's such a huge contributor in terms of how the team operates. But I think Beth's got a huge future in the game for England, especially. It's a shame he's had to go home with a hamstring now. I mean, which 21-year-old does his hamstring? But anyway, that's a different story. But he's got 15 years of playing for England, 20 years of playing for England now.
Yeah.
But if we'd held him off and he comes in and maybe the environment's not the same or what he's playing for is different, then he might have had a shorter career. But I think right now he's going to be an absolute jet.
Yeah. I know you just
Exciting.
said about hammies and stuff, injuries. Do you remember Ambi at Lancs, how he did his hamstring when he was just resting it on the wall?
I was talking about that the other day, actually, funny enough. Yeah, he dropped his leg from basically he was lying down with his feet up and he moved his leg and tore a quad or hammy. Like, what on earth?
He was a freak, though. He was an absolute freak, wasn't he? Like, I don't think they could do clinical trials on him. You know, they probably still could. Like, he's different. He's built differently, that boy.
He's funny. He's funny. To be fair to him.
Oh, mate.
Good times.
Anything else, Chris? I'm all spent on questions. I don't want to keep Jeets any longer.
I know you've probably got some golf to play, haven't you, with Brendan?
Not tonight, mate. Not tonight.
No, look, we've kept you long enough. We've asked some great questions, and to be honest, you've nailed it. Any not just spinners, but if you're a young spinner or whatever, listen to this. This is like absolute gold dust. I thought. So no, we'll keep it there. But it's really, really nice to chat. It's been too long, to be honest. So maybe we'll I'll come over to Harborne and.
You probably won't, mate.
He definitely.
No, you never did go to that part of town, and you never will. So that's fine.
Well,
I'll come to you. That's fine. I'll come to you. I'll just come to the sticks.
You know what? Carly would like that. She would like that. You bring the family. Yeah. Have a little country barbecue or something.
I just had Jeets. If at all, we're not fussed, but if you want to tell some of the England lads they can come on, like, just let them know, mate. It's not.
I'll say that I was on a podcast with two legends of the game. Good banter. You should get yourself out there. Like, great for your profile. They'll be all over it.
It will be.
And they can get this Grey Nichols discount as well. That's good of them.
There you go. Anyone who's listening or watching on YouTube, there is a Grey Nichols discount flashing across the screen. In the meantime, I'll put that banner back up. But look, thanks so much for your time, Jeets. We'll end the recording here, and absolute pleasure as always. And anyone listening, if you love spin, send it to someone else who bowls spin, because this is an elite episode. But we'll leave it there. Take it easy.
Cheers.
Thanks, gentlemen. Brilliant. Thank you.